everybody, Josh Ronquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, here to talk about 12 brand new albums for out today and what I missed for June 21st, 2024. 9 brand new albums out today, 3 I've missed along the way. Let's get into it. First up is Alceste with a name I'm absolutely gonna butcher because I'm not good at French, Les Chants de Alors. This is the 7th album from Alceste, and you never truly know what you're going to get with Neige. Either you're going to get something that's very dark and heavy, or you're going to get some of the most positively feeling, whimsical, spiritual music that you're going to hear in this style. Well, this album is definitely the latter with just the slightest tinges of black metal. This is really a post-rock, alternative rock, almost progressive rock in a kind of way. This album is very airy and whimsical and feels very otherworldly. And of course, that's what Neige is all about. The production on this album is stellar. Neige has really knocked it out of the park with this album again, and if you like the lighter side of Alceste, you shall love this album. Next up is Ancient Entities with Echoes of Annihilation. This is a Milwaukee band that really focuses in on how to balance technical death metal while still making it listenable for the non-tech death fans out there. They know how to do some fretboard gymnastics, they definitely know how to play across the drum kit, but it's also something that doesn't just go absolutely insane 100% of the time. They know how to write songs. They just know when to show off at the right times, and that's the kind of album I can really be behind. It has a really rich and full production style, yet just raw enough to kind of give it like a mid to late 90s kind of feel behind it. This is a death metal album that really should be up a lot of people's alley, and if you like just the slightest amount of tech death, you shall love Ancient Entities. Next up is the debut album from K-Nights with Reverent. This is a debut album from an Italian duo that really got the imagery and music matched together in perfect disharmony, and I mean that in the best way possible. This is an amazing blend of melodic death metal and gothic metal with just the slightest tinges of death and roll and black and roll mixed together. So kind of mix Insomnium, Paradise Lost, and Tribulation together, but also make it a concept album about a priest that turns into a vampire and seeing how his life goes from there on out. Don't want to give everything away, as it's a very intriguing story mixed in with a very intriguing album, and if you like the sound of that, I highly recommend checking out this album for some great melodic gothic metal goodness. First up, we have Codex Mortis with Tales of Woe. The sophomore album from this band of the Netherlands is a great example of how to do very blackened death metal in 2024. The band is still maintaining what they were able to do on their debut album, but everything's just a little bit better on this album. The production's a tad more polished. The vocals are even more brutal than they were before. The songwriting, everything that goes into this is just a little bit better, and for anyone who enjoys the styles of Behemoth and Nathrak, or even Early Day Benighted, are gonna find something to appreciate about this album. I haven't seen a lot of talk about this, but maybe that'll change with this review. If you like Black and Death, this is an album for you. Next up is the Canadian tech death band Derelict with Versus Entropy. And you would think with Canadian tech death you would know everything that there is to know about the style, right? Wrong. Derelict has only put out a few albums, but each album is really a great masterpiece of the tech death world while still showing off that you don't need to be tech death 100% of the time. Every riff serves a purpose. Every lead sounds so perfect for the song. Everyone in the band absolutely has technicality and musicianship to an absolute T, but they know how to write songs at the same time, and you match that up with fantastic production, and you have one of the standout tech death albums of 2024. Seriously, if you need tech death that is not just pure tech death, give Derelict a chance. Next up is the band Cavane with The Formless Fires, and I gotta say, without question, not only is this their best album today, but I think this is the best black metal album of 2024 so far, and it's gonna be very, very high up in my top 100 albums of 2024. This has everything that I've ever loved about the band, the black metal sound, the melodic black metal sound, but it also combines some of the best black metal compositions I have heard in quite some time. This is a band that everyone needs to jump on board with because this is how you do black metal in this style. It's dark, it's evil, it feels like it takes you around around the universe and back, and it has a great production and songwriting style behind it. I can't say enough good stuff about this album. Simply one of the best albums of 2024. Up next is Nayera with All Is Dust. And when this band came back with their self-titled album just a couple weeks before the pandemic started, everything seemed like it was going in the right direction. But then the pandemic happened, and Nayera returned to create their heaviest, darkest album to date. This really does feel like a post-pandemic album because everything that you hear, from the brutal breakdowns to the very emotionally driven lyrics and songwriting composition to moments that almost sound like black metal in this melodic death metal and metalcore band you would never expect, but it fits the music so perfectly because it does feel like we are in the end times, and soon we all will just be dust. But until then, this feels like a really good soundtrack for 2024, even though that might not be the most shining example. It really is a cathartic album for the state of the world that we live in. Give it a listen. Next up is the 6th album from Portrait with The Host. The band's first concept album, taking place in the 17th century, sounds eerily familiar to the world that we live in today. I won't give it all away, but just check it out for yourself. But with all of that said, this is easily the band's best album to date. It has some of the most strongest material that they've written, their best production, it's a full-on concept album, and they start to really embrace the heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal, and that proto-black metal sound that you love in Merciful Fate and King Diamond. All of that combined together to create the best Portrait album to date. Seriously, if you love that old school sound with that new school vibe, check out The Host by Portrait. Up next is Seven Spires with A Fortress Called Home, and without a doubt, this is the most intense, heavy, brutal album this symphonic metal band has put out to date, and you can tell they laid it all on the line for this album. It really harkens into that symphonic black metal sound, despite the fact that they are a symphonic metal band. Like, you really hear Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth throughout this entire album. You hear those symphonic moments of a band like Epica, and you also hear a little bit of grit and dirt in a band like Unleash the Archers as well. Every song is so catchy, so heavy, so brutal, and yeah, it really takes you through a full force of what was going on in the state of mind of this band. It's gonna be one of the darkest symphonic albums you're gonna hear in 2024, and it's a real head trip. If that sounds like it's for you, you need to check out the brand new album by Seven Spires. First up for albums that I missed is Crypt Sermon with their latest album, The Stygian Rose. And trust me, I did not want to miss out on this one, but when you don't get the promo ahead of time, there's only so much you can do. But all of that said, this is one of the best doom metal albums of 2024. It is horror-filled, it is that right combination of doom metal and classic heavy metal mixed together. The vocals are the strongest they have ever been in this band, the musicianship is just top-notch, the production fits so perfectly for the music. It is that horror-filled doom metal that really does feel like you're about to meet your doom. No one does that quite like Crypt Sermon, and I'm so glad that they put out a soundtrack for 2024, even if that was not their intention. This is one of the best metal albums of 2024. Next up is the 3rd album from Dinumbra with Finality, and this is pure, unadulterated gothic doom metal. If you're looking for the likes of Woods of Ypres, Counting Hours, and Velian, this is an album and a band that you need in your life. This Romanian band just conquered everything that I'm looking for in 2024 when it comes to this melodic doom sound. It's just perfect from start to finish with the lyrical content, the vocal harmonies, the musicianship, the production. Everything just feels so dark, cold, somber, and unforgiving. I can't describe it any better than that. This is how you do gothic and melodic doom metal in 2024, and it's easily one of the best. Check it out and understand why. And finally, we end things with Fellwarden with Legend. This is the 3rd album from this band that I literally just discovered and had no idea this is from The Watcher from Fen. This is atmospheric black metal done to the absolute perfection that it can be. This is what all atmospheric black metal bands should strive to sound like. Even Fen, if I'm going to be honest. The production on this is absolutely some of the best I've heard all year. The songwriting on this album is just that perfect blend of atmospheric black metal, black gaze, folk metal, black metal, and post-rock all combined together to create some of the best songs I've heard all year. This is easily one of my favorite black metal albums in all of 2024, and I don't say that lightly considering what else I've covered this week. This is just an amazing, phenomenal, perfect album from start to finish. If you're looking for something that's Eglock meets Winterfell meets Fen, I can't sell it much better than that. And there you go, folks. 12 brand new albums for out today and what I missed, 9 that are out right now, and 3 that I've missed along the way. So what do you think? Did you like what you've heard? Did you not like what you heard? Anything catch your interest? Do I just have a terrible taste in music? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thank you so very much for sticking around to the end of the video. And until next week, where I cover the last week of June 2024, this is Josh Ronquist for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel saying, embrace the skullet.